I want to start this by saying this. I am not my parents' favorite child. As much as this might sound absurd or even biased, which might be, there's no other way to describe my family. I'm the youngest sibling, third child, and I have a sister, oldest, and a brother. My sister and my brother are just a bit older than me, at 23 and 21, while I just turned 18 last August. Throughout my life, I've always known my parents didn't particularly like me. They would treat my siblings a lot better, give them better clothes and gifts, and even gave them allowances. I was never treated badly, but I was never given anything like that. To be honest, I don't even remember the last time my parents gave me a gift for my birthday, or even congratulated me for that matter. This was the reason I started working as a part-timer since I turned 13, washing cars, cutting grass, washing driveways, etc. That's how I managed to have some money should I need or buy things I wanted. For example, while my parents gave my siblings laptops once they got to high school, I needed to buy my own. Which is fine, they don't need to give me anything, I'm not entitled to it. It just made me very self-conscious about myself. Now, to the main point, my grandfather was a very kind man, and when he passed away, he left in his will. I'm not really sure about how this works, as I know almost nothing about the law, inheritances for his grandchildren, my siblings and myself, to finance our studies, college, housing, etc. As I understand, this money would only be possible to be used after the person is 18. Now, my sister went to college and is almost graduating. My brother, however, has changed his course 4 times in the last 2 years, and every time he did that, there was a large cost associated with it, especially since he aimed for expensive colleges. Now, he has spent a large part of his inheritance and probably won't be able to finance any course to the end. This is my main problem. My parents came to me and asked me to give my brother my part of the inheritance, as he has had that problem. Thing is, I'll be taking the college entrance exams in November-December, and by giving him this inheritance, I won't be able to do that, as I won't be able to afford college at all. I told them it was absurd, and it wasn't my fault that he wasted his part of the inheritance. Their answer was, he's your brother, and he needs help. He'll help you pay for your studies once he graduates. That means I would need to postpone college for at least 4 or 5 years. I obviously don't want to do that and told my parents that it was my decision. As you would assume, they didn't take that lightly. They've taken to call me an ungrateful child and an idiot for not thinking about family. I'm constantly being shunned in my house to the point that's making me feel like a trash of a person. So, am I such a monster? Not the idiot. First, I want to tell you I am so sorry you are experiencing this at such a young age. With that being said, I do not know where you are located, but maybe you can bring some of these concerns to a school advisor, a safe adult that can help you advocate for yourself and potentially help you find affordable housing if you feel unsafe or too pressured in your family's home. Not the idiot. You already know your parents don't care about you. I know it's hard to have people who are supposed to love you call you horrible names, but please don't take it to heart. There is something seriously wrong with your parents. Please don't let them pressure you into giving up your inheritance. It is for your future and it is what will help you to finally get away from such toxic people. I know you are young and don't know much about the law, but you should see if you could find some type of lawyer to help make sure that your parents don't get their hands on your money. I wouldn't put it past them to forge your name on documents allowing them to give your inheritance to your brother. You know you're not the idiot. They can pay for his schooling if it's so important to them. You're not an ATM. That money was left to you. Your brother's life decisions are not your problem. He can take out loans. They can take out loans. Put as much care into them as they have put into you. 0. Good luck and don't let them guilt you into giving up your dream. Because you know they're not going to help you, even if you help your brother. So, I know this sounds bad, but hear me out first please. My 32 daughter Eliza, 12, wanted to be vegan because she didn't want to hurt animals. I was hesitant seeing as she's a picky eater and I was afraid she'd end up having malnutrition. However, I decided to go along with her and started cooking completely vegan meals for her on the explicit condition that if she leaves anything uneaten on her plate because it looks, smells and tastes gross, I'd get her back to eating animal products for proper nutrition. She agreed to my conditions and we started with a vegan diet for her. I went so far as to use separate pans for her. I'd cook her nutritious meals according to the advice of a dietitian I consulted regarding veganism. She went along with it for about a month before she started protesting that I was making sure she gave up on the diet by preparing her meals with ingredients she did not want to eat. She hates broccoli because it smells bad, she doesn't like green leafy veggies because they get soggy, she doesn't like soy milk and almond milk or any other kind of substitute milk. She picks veggies out of her plate. She doesn't eat tofu, rice etc. either. She likes only junk food like Oreos, chips, crackers, etc. I'm at wit's end as to what I can feed her without her dying of starvation. So I decided to stop this nonsense and told her she can be vegan all she wants after she moves out. I told her that she did not follow my conditions, so I was stopping this ridiculous idea of veganism. My husband and daughter are mad at me now. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot necessarily, but you should help her take responsibility for her veganism instead of forbidding it. 12 years old enough to research recipes she's excited about, give you the necessary ingredients, and cook her vegan meal alongside you cooking for the rest of the family. Also, great bonding time. If she won't do that, I guess she doesn't care about the animals enough. And don't buy vegan junk food until she's eating reasonably. Veganomican is a great beginner-friendly vegan cookbook that should get her excited about cooking vegan. The chickpea cutlets are bomb, and I'm not vegan, I just like to mix things up. You can be a vegan who doesn't eat vegetables. Sounds like she doesn't eat rice and beans, given that she doesn't eat rice and won't eat tofu, so which vegan protein will she eat? The answer can't be none. She's a growing child. Not the idiot, you tried to accommodate her with reasonable stipulations, and she doesn't get to demand that you be a short-order cook. Your husband can cook if he wants to then. Vegan and vegetarian cooking, if you want to be good and nutritious, is a lot of work. My daughter decided she would be vegetarian, and I explained I would cook her separate meals, as long as she ate veggies. She had to eat well-rounded and nutritiously. She is now pescatarian as alternative meats were not a thing, and eggs and fish were a great source of protein. She is 15 now, she started at 10, and now helps plan her meals and makes her own lunches. If you are worried about the bad food she wants to eat, stop buying it. Then it's no longer an option. My daughter, 17, and I, 42, have been having a lot of problems. She is at a stage where she tries to rebel to any hint of authority and uses the almost adult car to justify herself. For example, there have been times when she leaves the house since the morning and does not tell me where she is going or says that she is an adult to refuse when I ask her to clean her room or do certain house chores. Things have been tense at home for a while now. Yesterday, my daughter gave me a list of all the flaws that she thinks I have as a person. They are all personal flaws, my gestures, my accent, my physical appearance, etc. I would have appreciated if the list had been about flaws in my parenting or things that I can improve, but they were all an attack on my person. I was quite offended and sad when I finished reading it. This is where I think I am the idiot. I said to her that since she's so good at dissecting someone's personality and appearance, I wanted her to do the same with her. I told my daughter that I wanted her to make a list of her flaws like the one she made about me and then give it to me so we can both comment about our flaws. I told her that until she gives the list to me, she has no right to use the car. My daughter said that I am an idiot, a bad parent, and that making that list about herself is going to traumatize her. She says that taking away her car is horrible and that she is going to hate me for eternity if I don't stop the punishment. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She needs to understand how hurtful what she did was. But not gonna lie, she seems very unlikely to get it. Here's the real way to deal with this. Since she's almost an adult, how about she start a part-time job and earn gas money for the car on her own? Don't clean her room, let it rot until she has no choice but to clean it. She sounds like a real brat. And 17 is too old for it to be excusable. She's not a child, she very carefully thought out the note and knew exactly how to hurt you the most. Her actions were malicious and ugly. Her reaction proves she knows how horrible her actions were, but it's definitely kinder than you writing your own list for her. Her list doesn't have to be as brutal as yours, she could simply jot down things she'd like to improve on. She needs to learn that as an adult there are actions to consequences. She's an adult now, she can parent, do chores, pat food and clothes, buy her own car, pay for insurance and gas etc. I do not think you are an idiot, but I think the teachable moment is now. She is stressed about having to make this, so have a conversation about the difference between being hurtful versus constructive. You do not actually need to go through with that portion of the consequence for it to be effective. Though the car can probably be taken away till she learns kindness and responsibility. Ex and I have 2 kids together. Our daughter is 15 and our son is 13. Our breakup was pretty nasty and custody pretty complicated ever since. Ex decided without telling me that he wanted to be a stay-at-home dad and quit his job after the birth of our daughter. It was a rocky time for us, but I had no issue with him staying home. He said he would talk to me first in future and we moved on. But he was a horrible stay-at-home parent. He didn't cook or clean, refused to go back to work, and would leave all the general chores to me. He took decent care of the kids, and that was the most important thing. It was just how little he invested into anything else. Then I found out he was only married to me because of my success and paycheck, and I divorced him. At first he was supposed to get equal custody, but then the judge found out he was lying about his ability to get a job, so he could get child and spousal support, which he didn't qualify for the latter anyway, but the former would be based on his income, and he did have a good job after I kicked him out, so it wasn't impossible. Anyway, I ended up with primary and he ended up with every other weekend, which increased after he realized I wasn't going to support him. He got married 5 years ago. His wife has 5 of her own kids. My kids get along okayish with him. They feel like they don't really have much in common with them, and they complain about the cramped space in their dads, but no huge problem with anyone. I never bought for his stepkids. I always felt it was X's responsibility to do it with our kids. He always complained and I ignored. But in the last year and a half it's been more and more complaints. Right before the start of stuff shutting down, I got my kids a Switch each so they could play games easier, both them and I love to game. Then I got a family console for the new gen last year. Though I only got that in June of this year. X knows about the stuff I have bought and he is livid that I buy this stuff for our kids but never give gifts to his stepkids. Or as he put it, buy gifts from our kids to his stepkids. He thinks it should be my job since it would be extra gifts and more money spent on his stepkids, who have nobody but him and his wife who care. It's caused a lot more tension of late. I feel like this is just him trying to use me again. But these are kids, so I wonder, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your ex knows you have money and it's eating him up. He is his children's father. If he wants gifts to be bought from his kids to his stepkids, then he should buy them. Sounds like he's still smarting that his plans to live off you didn't work out. I divorced one of those 2. Luckily I never had kids with him, so he's blocked. You do not have to engage with your ex on any subject that is not directly related to your own kids. Shut this crap down now. Of course he's trying to use you. It's a huge blow to his ego that you get his kids things he can't. Let him stew. The children of your ex's wife are nobodies to you. If your ex wants his children to give his stepchildren gifts, it's his responsibility to provide transport to get the gifts and even the money to buy the gifts. This is just another way for him to try and mooch off you. Ignore him. If you had stepchildren, there's no way he would be buying them gifts. Why the hell do you need to support his stepchildren? I mean, I bet they're great kids and deserve things, but this guy sounds like grifter. No. Absolutely not. Especially because he'd be likely to tell the kids that he bought it, and I bet he talks mad crap about you behind your back, regardless. You're a good parent to your kids. That's what matters. I feel for the kiddos. I bet their household could be better, but that is ultimately up to X and his lady, not you. Keep doing you, you're doing just fine. I, 29, was pretty upset when I said this. My mother-in-law passed away earlier this month. She'd been battling cancer and we were really hopeful that she would pull through. My wife is obviously devastated. I am too. This is the first loss we have ever experienced and it's hurting us deeply. She was a sweet, funny, wise, caring woman. I've known her practically my whole life. My mom wasn't around a lot growing up. I used to go to my wife's house every day after school since 3rd grade and mother-in-law was always so welcoming. She was practically a second mom to me, did a lot more than my own mom did at times. Her death is obviously hitting me hard because she really was like a mother to me in every way except biological. At the funeral my wife and I held each other, but we were both crying so much. We were completely wrecked. It's still hard for us to talk about her without there being tears. We have a 7-month-old son and hasn't been easy taking care of him on top of this. My sister has been really sweet coming by sometimes to help watch him or keep us company. Sometimes my mom comes with her to the house and she's seen how depressed we both have been. Last week my wife was sick in bed with a stomach bug. They came over for a little bit. My wife is napping so we're all downstairs talking. My sister asks how we're doing, eventually leads to the topic of my mother-in-law. Talking about her gets me a little too emotional again. My mom looked really put off. She tells me I need to knock that off already because I have to be there emotionally for my wife and I can't be crying too. Basically I'm supposed to be strong for the both of us. On top of that she says she doesn't get why I'm getting all like this over someone who's not even our side of the family. She brought up the funeral and how it was uncomfortable for me to be like that too when my wife was the one who lost her mom and should have had a better handle on myself. Her issue wasn't at all that I'm not being attentive or supportive to my wife while grieving, it was that I'm getting emotional at all. So that got me a little snappy. And that's why I told her if it's such a big deal to her that I'm crying then don't worry I won't be like that at her own funeral. That seemed to shut her up. But she's still mad over it. Because I was super rude for no reason when she was expressing her opinions about how to be there for my wife and also not understanding what I'm upset about. My sister thinks my mom should have been put in her place so she gets my side. My mom's obviously the one really bothered by it so I'm just wondering, was I an idiot? Not the idiot. Sure it wasn't a nice way to put it, but regardless of blood relations, that has nothing to do with grief. My cat died, and I still cry about it, and it's been 10 years. I miss her, and she's not even the same species. To say that you can't feel the weight of death purely because she wasn't your biological mother is a cheap shot of her own insecurities. I've seen my father cry 2 times in my life and one of them was when my maternal grandmother passed away. Sometimes losing the family one chooses is much harder than losing actual family. Mind you, my paternal grandmother was also a great mom and a very nice person, but sometimes it just hits differently. I think your mom was just jealous of the bond you've shared with your mother-in-law and you have surpassed the allowed amount of time for grieving for a mother-in-law, in her opinion. Not the idiot at all, although it seems you may feel bad about it. My mother-in-law had a double lung transplant and lived with my wife and I afterwards. It gave her a few more good years of life, she got to meet her grandkids, the youngest was 1 when she died, but she did pass, 20 years ago now. I cried at her funeral. My wife and I went to visit her grave yesterday, and it still makes me sad. All that is to say, there is nothing wrong with being emotional about the loss of someone you cared about. You handle it the way you need to.